Hey there, and welcome to Comedians on Technology, People, and Drugs. I'm your host, Sam Joseph, and today we're very lucky to have comedian Calum McIvor with us. Hey, Calum, it's really great to have you on the show.
What's going on, Sam, man?
It's, well, so many things that it's difficult. My, I would imagine, do you have the same problem that many comedians do? Is that just your brain is like overwhelmed by thoughts left, right, and center?
It is, and it's combated with my lack of actions as well. So it's like genius moments in the head fighting with the lack of motivation. It's terrible. Let me just say, I love that intro, by the way.
Oh,
What was
great.
that? That was a really nice ASMR kind of. Hello, and welcome back. Big fan, big fan.
Thanks,
Animate that, bro. That's gonna be massive.
It's people do say that I have a great radio voice to make up for my unfortunate face, but the intro I actually have behind the scenes. I have the intro and the outro actually scripted because part of the thing is I stutter a lot. I say like, I say I mean I've got this like side tone thing in my ear which is like I can slightly hear my own voice coming back, which is supposed to help me not like sort of talk around with all these stutters, but it doesn't work. But anyway, that's why I have to script the intro. But thank you, Gallum. I mean, you're a very funny person, and I think we'll often we often try and think about the audience as just a single person because there is often only one listener who this week we're going to call Violet. Was it Violet last week? I'm confused. I don't know. And so Violet is going to be beside herself, like kind of going oh, at the edge of her seat, wondering, how you all got started in comedy. Were you like a shapeshifter from a different comedy dimension, forced into a human body and sort of stuck here? How did it all kick off?
Uh, for comedy, for me, man, probably early. It was early Lee Evans VHS videos.
Oh yeah.
Early Lee, never. I don't think I've laughed so hard since watching Lee Evans when I was like 8 or 9. So I think that probably sowed a seed within. And I'll tell you a pretty good origin story. So Jimmy Carr 2008 just came out with whatever special he was doing at the time, and me and my dad watched it, and we had a talent show going on at school. Bar you, mind you, I'd only began at this school for about 6 months. It was one of the worst rated schools in South London in 2008. I think the demographics was like 95% black or something like that. And I was like, I am not only going to do this talent show, I am going to steal every one of Jimmy Carr's jokes and do it in front of 200 like people. And bro, I tell you, I've done it. Hardest bomb I've ever had in my life, bro. I must have been about 12. I was about 12 years old in front of like 300 people, just
Wow.
doing like Jimmy Carr jokes, bro, in front of like this crowd that just weren't trying to hear it. I mean, I remember at one point I was like, my mum's a great driver. Last year she got 25 points. And there was like this black woman in the third row, and she looked around and she just like, come on, guys, like give the kid a chance. But that was probably my villain arc. So from there I was like, I'm gonna make it massive and just yeah.
Oh, oh, there's the rage underneath. It's like, oh, I will show those 300.
Yeah, 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 big time. And there was one Bangladeshi kid that was in my year that up until year 11, he's the only one that remembered it. So even up until like my last day, he was like, "Hey, remember when you bombed in front of everyone?" I'm just like, I actually hate this kid so much.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah, wow. You mentioned copying other people's jokes. I mean, embarrassingly and old. I mean, I had no idea how stand-up comedy worked. And as I've talked about on the show before, about 21, 22, I tried it, and I'd seen. I think Rick Duckerman was the Canadian comedian who I'd seen on television, and he'd done a great joke about, and it was related to his kid and his wife, and I just was completely mismatched. But I tried telling that joke in a comedy night, and it just totally bombed. And I thought, it can't possibly, but it's interesting. The difference is that you had that bomb and that, propel, and you're like, right, I'm gonna do this. And at the time, for me, I was like, comedy is impossible. It can only be done by God. So I will,
Yeah.
not do it for 30 years and like sort of like shrivel and sign.
Well,
But,
there
but,
was there was about an 18-year or 15-year hiatus after that until I
uh,
actually got back into it. But yeah,
oh,
yeah,
really?
I
Okay.
do understand.
Okay. Yeah. Well, no, no. Tell us, do carry on. Tell us how from that, villainous origin, it all came good.
Well, it probably in where it should have made me like forget it, I'm going to be the funniest comedian ever. I just kind of pushed it to the back of my mind, carried on because I still had 5 years of school left, so I carried on going to school, and yeah, just think had done things out classic, just didn't do great in GCSEs, done construction, interactive media. just the classic white working class guy. I feel like it's like media and then construction is like the classics actually when you look at it.
Right.
But then after that, what did I do? Worked in America, come back, just done endless job after endless job until and all these years. But mind you, when I'm doing these endless jobs, I've got like a couple of joke books that I'm writing
Oh,
jokes in,
really?
and I'm like, one day, you know what I mean? Just one day I'll
Mm.
do it. However, at the time I was smoking weed, I'm sure, I think because of your questions, we'll end up getting into something like that.
Yeah.
But that just prolonged my inevitable um, getting into stand-up comedy until I think I started when Diesel started, so that was about 5 years ago, something like that. But
Okay.
I've only been doing it properly since for about a year and a half now.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Cool. 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 And that, but so that, well, it's about, I mean, the time that I started is coming on for 5 years now, and I remember seeing these. I don't know how early I've seen. Yeah, well, anyway, we were all knocking about. But can you tell us the? I mean, that's a wonderful story there. The classics in construction and writing jokes. And I mean, I was doing similar. Although I mean, I had like a little book. And I think it was over like 30 years. I'd maybe written three jokes. It wasn't going very fast, but
Yeah.
but so tell us about that. Sort of about 5 years ago, you had it in the back of your mind. What was the situation or the opportunity that made you actually bite the bullet and do it?
It was just after COVID, and I was living in Notting Hill because they had done half prices on rent, so I was living lavishly for like half a year.
Right.
And I just lost one job, and I was like, I'm going to apply for because Top Secret just they were looking for vacancies.
Oh yeah.
And I went in. I just walked in with my CV. I was like, "Is there any jobs going on?" Ended up getting the job working behind a bar or whatever. And I kind of
Oh,
saw that as like a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy. I was like, "Oh well, now I'm around all of these
yeah.
comedians in the industry." And then luckily, Dom Fraser, a great guy who again I started off with, he was working there as well. And I don't know if you've done it, but you've done the classic where you look online and you go open mic comedy
Right.
nights in London, like and
Hmm.
Lions Den was the closest one to us, and it was the one where you could walk up and who first come first serve, so
Right.
they'd just
Right.
write your
Right.
name down. And I was like, I'm gonna do that. And I spoke to Dom about it at work. He was like, Bro, I'm literally gonna do that next week. And I was like, oh, well, this is on. Like, this is
Right.
what we gotta do. And
Brilliant.
ate a bag of dicks, bro. It was like the worst, the second worst bomb I've ever had. Yeah, it was like.
I mean, the flavors they put on crisps now. I mean, what is it? What wow, so fascinating because I think we had Ollie Miller on the podcast is one of the people who I think also did. I mean, I think he just saw a queue of people outside the Lion's Den
Yeah,
and like asked the question. I think actually maybe even met Dylan Harris there and said, "What's going on?" and just did it on the spur of the moment. Which I think to people like myself and other people who've done these comedy courses and kind of needed a comedy course to get into it, we're it's like wow. But so yeah, you I mean, Top Secret, obviously, stellar club. So you got him working behind the bar, fantastic. And so then you were sort of seeing how it worked, and you were seeing different comedians have good sets and bad sets, and this, that, and the other. And you're like,
yeah.
okay, I'm gonna give this a go, right? And that first one at the Lions Den, but I guess again, like the 300 kids when age 12, not laughing, you were not gonna take that line down, and
Yeah. Well, is it? I'd almost been used to disappointment up until that point. So it
right,
was luckily for me, with very thick skin as well. So I can kind of, and it would have been different if everyone else was murdering and like
right,
I had gone up and bombed. You know what I mean? But it was quite frustrating in a sense because you spend so long doing that first 5 minutes, and you're
mm,
like, at least I'm going to get some laughs. And the one bit they laughed at was the bit that I didn't think was funny, as classically as it
mm,
usually goes anyway. And
yeah.
I just came off, and it gives you a different perspective where it's like, okay, it's more than just going up thinking you're funny. There's an actual structure and stuff to it.
Yeah, no, there's more to it. Well, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, the experience from people who do the courses is that they get this first gig. It's usually the first one, doesn't not always, but the sort of showcase show, which is kind of packed with friends and family, and they, will get laughs in that one, and then they'll go out as I did to an open mic. I was at like Comedy in Your Eye and
Okay.
get no laughs apart from the point at which you like comment on I'm not getting any laughs, and then the comedians at the back all laugh. I think Diesel was there. It was yeah. Anyway, I think I just remember because that was my first open mic, first time I met him.
Did they say in the beginning when they were like, this is his first time?
I don't know.
That usually edges it a bit. That's usually a nice little because,
You
but
usually get something. I mean, I was just trying to be too clever, really. With the, I mean, I don't know. I'll have to watch that video back at some point.
oh,
I
same. No, no, I get what you mean, but I'm trying to be just like whisking your moustache. I'm here. How do you not
yeah,
understand this?
you know, it's like, oh yes, genetic engineering. Oh, what's that all about?
Can I smoke in here?
um, yeah, and so like you say, so at that first night, you know, people weren't doing amazing, and you were there. Like, okay, right, I'm gonna. And so what was then? What was the approach that you then did to like, okay, I'm going to do lots of gigs, or I'm going to go and study comedy, or how did it go after that first Lions Den open mic?
It definitely writing more on comedic wise, and what I guess my style would be is more just as it is for a lot of people, is just joke about what's in your own life. So I was
Sure.
just picking stuff out within my own family that I thought was funny, and you know, I'm such Sambo, and this has only been stopped up until recently. I have been such a lazy guy in terms of sitting down writing. Because, but if I tell you, Diesel's always said this to me. He goes, if you just worked and just sat there and wrote and kent, you'd be one of the best. But I'm so lazy with it, man. So it was a long, drawn out process of ended up getting any kind of recognition within anyone within the circuit. Luckily I was with a lot of good people. So
Mhm.
I was with Diesel. I was with um, no, everyone else is shit. Who else is no. Everyone else is really not funny actually. No, who else were we with? Who was it? We were with Ollie Moore, Adam Cleveland, of course. These are the classic.
Yeah, yeah.
These are like the what is it? The sophomore year. These are like
A
whatever it is.
generation. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And luckily, we were just around each other and always being funny. So having other people around you definitely
Yeah.
uplifts it as well. But I was my own worst enemy when it came to progression.
Right, right. And it's an interestingly different story in as much as I think a lot of well, you know, probably a quarter of the people that we've spoken to who've done courses and had a good first gig, and then were sort of they got a bug from that, and then they were like, oh, you know, I must do more, I must do more, and they got in with some
Yeah,
frequency once or twice or three times a week or whatever it happens. That from that first Lion Den one, and you were like, okay, this is harder. I'm gonna at least, if not necessarily do lots of writing, I'm gonna at least need to do more of these open mics.
yeah.
But so what was the pat? Were you then kind of like, oh, okay, I'm coming back to Lions Den next week, you know, or you left it a month, or what was
I
going on
was
in
like
your?
because Lions Den was every Tuesday. So
Yeah,
and Lions Den was around the corner from Top Secret. So it started off as Lions Den every Tuesday, but as you know, notoriously Lions Den was literally the den of comedy. It was like it had a
um,
massive reputation for how shit it was and
yes,
just how it was like, you know, I don't even think I can say that on a podcast, but it was like those kind of jokes that people found funny. And I didn't, as I say, I didn't really know anyone else. I didn't really know. All you had was like Gig Gag,
yes,
and and back then it was a bit of a shit app. Into look, shout out David Lynch. Obviously, he's the guy for
yeah,
creating it. It was back then. There was lots of bugs, and
mm,
again, but I just wasn't. I kind of relied on other people who would tell me of gigs to go to, and
okay.
I would go to other gigs and stuff like that. But it was a slow burner for sure.
Okay, no, that makes it. So basically, initially, it was like, okay, Lions Den is close every Tuesday. I mean, I'd heard about Lions Den from actually Oggy is one of the few people who's done
Hey,
repeat.
shout out Oggy,
Yeah,
big
Oggy
fan.
is still going, and I mean, school shooter humor is, of course, you know, a big. I mean, I'm sure its time will come.
It's very in. It's very in at the minute. Yeah.
I remember seeing him do that the first time I met him. Probably was it Rising Stars in Holborn, but back in the day. But that's really interesting, just with Lions Den, because he was always he talked about that on the podcast when he's been on, and Tuesdays had for a long time not been a day that I could get out, and then now of course Lions Den's moved to a different place, and what was the Lions Den has become Hood Rat Comedy or something. So I've now done both rooms. Yeah, it's strange. It's strange how it all comes
But
around.
Oggy started promote. He started shout out to him in the sense where he started because we've always said if Lions Den had a good PR, if they done some good promotion, it's like it's Piccadilly Circus, bro. It's like the foot traffic's incredible. It's like if you actually done some good advertisement for that, you get. And so he started doing that. I think he started
Yeah,
paying for
yeah.
advertising.
He has, and I mean, like, yeah, it's a top location, and you know, yeah, no, I'm trying to take some leaves out of his book for some of our gigs, right, and so yeah, so then you were doing that, and as you say, from the group of people, you know, Adam, I'll have to get Adam and Ollie on the show. Actually, we've had Adam has been he's been doing longer and longer sets at our gigs. I really enjoy. really enjoy his comedy. Yeah, so you were finding out you were in like a group and you were just sort of doing it. But I'm interested to hear about did it flicker so you were sort of like scaling up that bombing mountain like, presumably third, fourth, fifth time at Lions Den, or later on at some other places, you were starting to get laughs and you were starting to get some sort of encouragement that made you want to carry on doing it, or was it all just silence and
No,
it
no,
was the friendship group that was
definitely in the beginning it was a bit of a library, but after a while, when you end up building like a joke structure to a bit, like a 2 minute bit, and you see the outcome to it, and you actually get to read your own humor from it. So you watch it back and you're like, that's actually super funny. I'd actually find that funny. It gives you encouragement. I think one of my first bits that what was one of my first bits that I had it. I think it was about my dad being from up north and that
oh yeah,
he was because he's ex-army.
oh yeah,
He used to. What was the joke? Oh, bro, Rob Moriarty. Oh, bro, I used to be Rob
oh,
Moriarty. Remember, he asked me about my early bits, and I told him, and he goes, "Oh, tell us the bit." And I was like, "This is on his podcast, by the way." And
okay,
I just go, "I can't remember." Like an absolute dope, mate. I'll just look like,
oh,
hey, bro. If you ever see that, I wish that was purged from the internet, bro. Because I've only done, as I say, Dan Ren's
mm.
podcast, and I've done Rob Moriarty's, bro. Rob Moriarty's one, bro. I'm sat there for like 40 minutes not talking. It's like the most
Oh,
embarrassing thing, bro. It's like horrible, Sam.
oh dear.
But he
The
goes,
right to forget. Sorry, go on.
the right to forget, right? But he asked me about it, and now I think I remember. It's my dad was from up north, and essentially he's just hardened from the army, so he
Mm.
buys us like a Nerf gun, and he's like reload it or so. It's just some stupid joke like
Yeah,
that. Where he treats
yeah.
a Nerf gun like a gun, but early on, when you're writing and you see the joke structured out and you see where the laughs come in, it definitely gives you encouragement that yeah, I can do this more and more.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, and shout out to Rob Moriarty. I mean, his whole peanut butter routine. I don't know if you remember that one. Just
Uh, oh yes, 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 yes,
I
yes, yes.
just, I mean, really, absolute hysterics. His, well, and then to be honest, shades of him in you. I mean, I was just watching your one. Well, mate, I mean, your one recently with the Gypsy one, has just been causing me to repeatedly laugh. Like, I just every time I think of it again,
Only
and
you and a handful of people find that funny, you know.
but mate, that backstreet run, everybody was laughing at that man. It was fucking brilliant. I could again with some of these things, you can see how not every room is necessarily going to laugh at them. But I was just watching your one about the lady at the job centre. Um,
Okay, yes, yes, yeah,
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 which is yeah, I mean, it's brilliant. Brilliant. Anyway, yeah, fantastic. And so yeah, you kind of you were sticking at it, you were sticking at it, you were sticking at it. And then now, what's the frequency looking like? Are you trying to get out multiple nights a week? How does it feel?
Well, I've just, but for the grace of God, I've just got a new job, which is very demanding. It takes up a lot of time, and I finish at
Right.
like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So I really need to pick between going gym or gigging. It's a bit of a crunch time moment for that. So
Oh, right.
I think I'm going to choose my gigs wisely, start applying for them a bit more wisely. Because I don't apply it on like email or nothing like that. I just go to places that I know. So it's kind of
Yeah.
stupid. So I think if anything, it might be a bit of a blessing in the sense where I'm more strategic with who I book. So that's the plan.
Yeah, yeah. No, I hear that. I mean, I'm kind of, well, for different reasons. Like, I mean, you may discover this if you live this long. I'm sure you will. Is that
I'm like a
I
threat.
mean, no, no, no. I mean, it's just it's a fast life. What's going to happen to him? No, the is that as you get older. I mean, I used to enjoy going to the gym, and then like, and my kids are really into the gym, and then so they're all to look good, and I'm just like there to kind of like stop the decay. It's a
Yeah,
different
yeah.
it's a different sort of thing, and I kind of like I'm out gigging, and actually there is I need to fit in more weights work just to avoid the wastage. But yeah, yeah, and I hear what you're saying about gig. But it's I mean, I've got a new job as well. Well, I'm 6 7 months in now, so it's starting to settle down. But yeah, that it's one of those things where you've got to be, like, say, strategic about choosing all these different bits and pieces. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Well, let's slide into our second question, which is about how is technology affecting your life and comedy. And as I often say at this point, by technology, I sort of mean anything like a pen and paper is still technology. Like a particular thing like deciding to do the morning pages, or like some sort of like memory technique that allows you to say yourself on stage. That's all a kind of technology, but also, social media, AI, what have you. And, I'm interested in how it affects both, your comedy process, but also your day-to-day life. And I'm doing it partly because I'm really interested in how every comedian, including you, comes up with the material and what that looks like. So we'll give lots of explanation there, but bring it back to the original question: how is technology affecting your life and comedy?
I feel like with technology, it's a bit of a constant battle in the sense where you get people that are very creative, that create great sketches, even some long. I forget the Indian guy who's just hosted SNL. What's his name? Jake Baravadi or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
He's doing fantastic sketches, I think. Really, really thinking about it.
Mm.
However, and not even however. So you're watching that and you're kind of getting inspired. You're like, wow, this is actually really funny, man. Bro, if you look at my phone, the amount of sketches that I've written
Oh, really?
like poorly spelt, but like just in the moment where I'm just like, this is going to be hilarious. So I've actually
Yeah.
got a load of them. Again, it's just about the motivation with doing it. So there's the good aspect of it where it's inspiring. You look at it and you go, this is an idea I didn't even think of. I can actually expand on it in this, not in the sense of stealing, but
Sure.
just how your creative mind works. I guess it's just like I can expand on that in my own way. But where the battle is as well, it's algorithmically programmed to keep you scrolling as well. So
Right,
it's
right.
like where you're like, okay, I'm gonna do. Wait, let me just keep. Okay, this is. Let me check. And that's the constant battle I've with. That's always been the fight between me. It's like I've done. I've written down what I think is funny, but I'm also a victim to like just the social media algorithm and how it because it's actually built to keep you scrolling as
It
well.
totally is. It's designed to be addictive.
And
I mean,
it's completely got me under its thumb, or had done anyway.
yeah. And was that mainly Instagram? Was that just sort of scrolling on Instagram? Would you say?
Scrolling on Instagram, yeah, for sure, man, for sure. It was like the He-Man gave me a suggestion. I don't know if you've heard grayscale. You
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
like grayscale the phone. I'd done that, man, but it was just like I was like FaceTime my mum. I was just like, this is boring, bro. This is like it's actually depressing. My mum's just grey.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it really is a battle. I mean, I seem to have. I've kind of, I've kind of by sheer force of will, I can avoid the scrolling, or at least I've just been so irritated with things like Facebook showing me like all the reveals from like movies that I might want to watch in the future, and usually the Marvel ones, and I'm just like, you fuckers, ah! And but then what I found, I'm completely addicted to the messages. So it's like I can't stop. I've turned off all the notifications, but I cannot. Basically, every half an hour, I check, WhatsApp, Messenger, Instagram messages. Like there's something about getting messages from other people that I'm like, and I could be
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
I
yeah.
could be writing comedy, but I'm like, no, let's see if somebody. And often people haven't sent me a message, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna send them a message. Anyway, no, it is a strange. But you're saying it's a bit more under control now.
You know what it is, bro? I'm not so much on the messages. People tell you I'm terrible at replying. Like I'm a bit of a I can isolate myself quite well. It's like more like the Iran war. So I'm like, what's happening? So I'm like very into
Yeah.
geopolitics and stuff like that. So I would just get on a tangent of like looking at threads of like what's going on over there. And in my mind as well, I like convince myself, I'm like, well, this is like world-ending stuff that you're looking at here, bro.
It's
This is
important.
like you're not scrolling for no reason. And then, next thing you know, it's 9 o'clock at night and I've got work in the morning. It's just like
Yeah, yeah, no, well, and that was, I mean, I think that getting news on the phone as it well, obviously this is I mean I'm old enough to remember when we didn't even have phones and there was newspapers and there was some I mean I used to love reading the newspaper at the weekend as a kind of like it was a little treat and then it kind of like evolved into I'm constantly looking at the news and there was this thing with the with was it when Trump like well they say lost the first his first re-election campaign and they
yeah,
had that whole January the 6th thing and there was the I was absolutely glued to the
yeah.
updates of all of the news of all about that what have you and it was just kind of unhealthy and I think that's a little while after that I was just like no I am no news all I basically quit all news for about 3 years. I mean, now
Nice.
I'm at work and they've got like TVs up that are constantly sweating. And I'm kind of like, but there's something, you can get stuck in this like, oh, the drama, the stories, and it's like I should be writing material that people get stuck in my drama. Anyway, it's
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
crazy,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah,
You,
yeah.
then you try to write material on like the genocide in Gaza. It's like, why isn't this working? It's like there's no laughs coming from this, man.
I'm sure it's got legs. Well, if they haven't been blown off. Damn, why am I?
Yeah, it
There's
sounds trying to
loads.
get cancelled.
I might have to edit that out. Okay, well, not that anybody. I'm just big thanks to all of the NSA agents like listening to this and keeping us safe. We
Yeah, yeah,
appreciate
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you
Big
screwing
fan,
up
big
your
fan.
marriages for us. It's anyway. Yeah. That's that side of the technology. Like in that's the scrolling forward. How about in terms of actually writing ideas? So, you were talking about writing sketches now, and I have like so I was at a show earlier this week, and there were sort of the people that they were sort of inserting. It was stand-up comedy, but they were inserting what was kind of like sketch stuff into it. And I'm not, if I'm honest, I'm very happy for people to go off and do sketch comedy. But I love the thing I love about stand-up comedy is like learning about a person. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean? And that for me, even with the best and the funniest sketch, is somehow a little bit missing from that. But so you'll find. I mean, obviously, it sounds like you like sketch, and so are you're busy writing and making notes on your phone about comedy ideas, sketches all the time? How does that usually look?
yeah. So I wouldn't even say I particularly like love sketches or anything. I just think I have a funny idea that I think if I had a lot of my sketches as well, I'd need another person, and that's another thing. I just can't be honest out to
Okay.
anyone and be like. Whereas at Banff, you see people like Banff and stuff like that. It's like they have something I wish I had in terms of like Banff has this kind of thing where it's like I need to make it. You know what I mean? He has this
Mm.
kind of thing where it's like I have to get out of whatever situation I'm in, and I got to absolutely respect him for that. But yeah, just to say, in terms of all the sketches I have, they're just sat dwindling away in my notes, and I just I'm I think if I end up getting around to it, they'll be funny. I just need to do it.
Yeah, I mean, well, and of course, these days it's all about if you can make good content like that, and then that's that's the conveyor belt to the stars. Maybe it's
Yeah,
yeah, but presumably you're having these sketches, but you're also having just ideas for jokes that you would say on the stage. I mean, like these things that we've talked about, like the gypsy bit or the job center lady, or what have you, or your dad's Nerf gun stuff. Like those ideas come to you and you just do you just sort of like go and say them on stage and then like evolve them like writing on stage as some people do, or do you find yourself like sort of playing with them in on your phone, or how's
you know
that
what?
usually?
You know what I'm terrible at, bro. I'm terrible at improv. Really, like crowd work and improv, I cannot do for the life of me, bro.
Oh
Like
really?
for as long as I've been doing this, and like, even at Lions Den the other day, I was like, I'm just gonna do crowd work for the whole thing, just to try and like better
Yeah,
like myself in that sense. So in
yeah.
terms of like expanding on bits I already have, it would be a thing I'd have to be home, perform it to my no crowd in my front room.
Oh really?
Yeah, yeah, and just find what I think's funny, and then pretty much replicate what I've just done there on stage.
Okay.
I'm terrible at on stage finding out new bits like to try and work out on. So I can't. I'm really bad at that.
Interesting, interesting. Yeah, no, but I mean, I think many people prefer. I mean, there's, I think that there's all sorts, and everybody's got, and that's partly why it's so fascinating talking to so many different comedians about how their processes are different. I mean, I used to, I mean, in the first year or two, I would at home, I had like a little microphone that plugged into my iPhone, and I would, if I didn't have a gig, I would be me, doing to the sofa, basically practicing it and just trying to say
Yeah, yeah,
something
yeah, yeah.
and what have you. But
My priorities are wrong as well because the thing I spend the most time on is like only a couple of times I've done this, but like you do thank you speeches. So it's
oh
like
yeah.
if I get an award one day, I'm just like, if it wasn't for like Sam Joseph podcast, I would not be standing. Well, I've done that too many times, bro. Instead of doing stand up,
Oh my goodness. Well, but that could be a whole bit actually.
I've got you know what? I've got that written as a sentence in my notes as well. So yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, but I think that could be a very strong bit. What was I just saying? Yeah, but then so you've got this, you've got the beginning of an idea. What I'm not hearing, and not that you're required to or anything, but I think what a lot of people say is that they're out and about and they have a bit of an idea and then they write it down on their phone in a notes app or a Google Docs or whatever you
Yeah,
want.
yeah, yeah.
It's the same fit, right? So you do that, and then
Yeah.
I guess when you're there at home, you might look at that, but it sounds like you're saying you wouldn't like be looking at that words on the page and then like be fiddling around with them. You'd be like, okay, I had that idea. I'm just going to say that to my couch and sort of see if I can turn it into something. Is that
See if something works for me. Yeah, exactly that kind of process.
yeah.
When I get around to doing it, but yeah, it would be like that.
Yeah, yeah, no, no. That's cool. Well, mate. I mean, I'm just really enjoying your humor. So like that process is like Mwah.
Thank you, bro.
Like as I think was it Diesel saying, you know, if you can get into that writing group. I mean, this is the thing actually. So for me, I kind of I really like improv. I wouldn't say that. Well, am I any good at it? I don't know. I mean, I do this on technology, right? I do this virtual reality comedy. I don't know if I've mentioned to you. The podcast listeners are like, you know, but so like there, you know, I've got this. There's Meta Horizon Worlds is one of a number. Is this app that was like Zuckerberg's favorite. I mean, they're a bit pulling the plug on it now, but basically with a virtual reality headset, and you go into this 3D world, and everybody's got avatars, and basically on
Oh, I
now.
might have seen a video about that actually. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, there's a
It
video.
wasn't yours specifically, but I think I seen someone do that, like
Yeah, yeah,
stand up
yeah.
version.
There's bits and pieces of it going on, and yeah. But so I've been doing that now the last 3 years. I mean, but every Wednesday and Saturday nights, I do like it's turned into like an hour, right? Of it's called my comedy booby trap, and I basically take 5 thoughts from my day, and I just get up on stage and I improv comedy around these 5 ideas and just like sort of like try and spin this that way and I forget I've now forgotten why I even brought that up, but it's probably just to like show my own trumpet. But no, what's the word? But that it was because you were saying like you know you didn't feel so natural with the improv and the crowd work. Certainly, what I've done over 300 of these shows now, and what I will do as well as like sort of talking randomly around these subjects is that I'm also doing like little crowd work interaction with the people, and it's kind of like
Who is it you're doing it to? So if it's on like if it's virtual reality, and are you doing it to like people from all over the world?
yes, yes. So I mean, it's not usually a large number of people. I mean, basically, if I've got 8 people, you know, it's somewhere between like 5 and 10 people, and but they are all from like totally random places.
Yeah, I was
Like,
gonna say you're getting heckled from like guys in Botswana and stuff like that.
well,
We don't get the bus humor.
the chance of it a fine thing is actually it's only like first well I said developed countries that have access to it. I mean they expanded it recently, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's basically it's
yeah.
Europe, it's America, Japan, you know, Korea, those sorts of places. But there are people from like you know South Carolina, people from Saskatchewan in Canada, people from you know like there was a guy from Germany in last night. It is like a totally random cross
Interesting.
section of people from weird places. So you kind of I mean it's really interesting to sort of connect with these different people. I was trying to
Right,
bring this back.
like doing comedy on a cruise ship.
Yeah, maybe so. Well, and the big thing, of course, is as you know, I mean, on stage in London, very competitive, getting your 5 or 10 minutes or whatever it is,
Yeah.
you know, and then you want to use your time. I mean, you don't necessarily want to spend all of it doing crowd work. Whereas in this virtual reality, suddenly the time's off and I've got 45 minutes or an hour where I can just muck around. So that's really handy. But yeah, that's just an example of using the technology to create that space to, you know, expand on ideas.
I can imagine that's really helpful actually for expanding on jokes and stuff.
I think so. I think I've developed some things out. So some of the things that I now use that work somewhat reliably have come out of, you know, I originally, you know, came up with them just sort of like mucking about
Yeah.
on the stage. So it's really handy. But so I mean I guess coming back to the question, I thought I had a question that was going to go from like so we talked about how you're coming up with ideas and you know getting them onto the stage and but not so much doing the improv and the crowd work. And I guess I was just mentioning the virtual reality. I thought I was going to come back into a question, but I've just collapsed under the weight of my own mind. The but but you
My intellect is just it's crushing.
it's like a black hole. It's reached a critical mass. Now we're being pulled into Sam's mind. Um, but I guess we've heard, haven't we, that so like the technology affecting your life is the scrolling, and that's a battle. And you know, but I was gonna, but you're not, for example, you like recording your gigs and listening back to them, or is there any other thing that you're doing that's in your like comedy process to try and help you improve?
Yeah, I record them and listen back. Yeah, and I try and adjust where I can, where I hear where the laughs are and stuff like that. So I do actually do it for that as well. So that is actually helping.
Okay. Oh, good stuff. Yeah. But yeah, cool. And well, let's move on from technology then and into a question that sometimes gets answered along the way. You know, because during the comedy origin story, we hear about different people who've had an impact on you. But you know, feel free to re-mention them again or shout out to other people about who are the people who've had the biggest impact on your life and comedy.
On my life separate from comedy or within comedy?
Well, I'd say both. I mean, there's sort of two questions in there. like independently of obviously, one thing in a comedian's life is when they sort of get moved onto the comedy track by what have you. But it can just be people also who, I mean, often the sort of categories of people that people talk about are, for example, one, oh, famous comedians I was influenced by, comedians on the circuit who helped me, and and I like, or whatever, and then just people who, for sometimes it might be like, oh, this mentor, this teacher at school, was really kind to me and acted as a bit of a mentor. Any of those kind of things. I mean, when you think about the people who are having who made changes both to your life and your comedy, who would you like to give shout outs to?
Um, I guess in my life in general, not really anyone to be honest. I think but my parents and my sister. Let me just shout them out because they've probably been with me the longest, so they probably know me inside out. But in terms of comedy, I'd go back to Lee Evans and Jimmy Carr, early days when I was watching comedy because
Yes.
they were definitely the inspirations. Got to give a shout out to Patrice O'Neill because I just think he's very died too young. Died too
Mm,
young. Very, very funny man as well.
mm,
And just in terms of actually on the circuit as well, I'd say there's a big, apart from the circle I'm in now, He-Man, Yovan, Diesel, Banff, Finn, like all of these guys who are incredibly funny, who I'm around, who I'm very blessed to be around actually. I'd say Elliot Cass, who's a
mm,
very good friend of mine. I watched him from 1,000 followers get to 140,000 followers. I was
mm.
with him all the time filming his sketches, so that was very inspiring to watch a, a close friend of yours. Um, from through thick and thin, really, to see from the very bottom of him just putting out these sketches, hoping to get the best, to him signing on to an agency, to him
Mm.
starting to get brand deals, and now we're going on to Ireland and we're going to all these places, to where he is now, which due to my work we've had to kind of go our own ways, but
Mm.
he is one of the funniest people I know, and it's really inspiring to watch how he's got there. And I'd say the same with Diesel as well,
Mm.
because with Diesel early in the again early days, we're all starting together. None of us are funny. We're all like smoking area comedians, really. So we're all making
Mm.
each other laugh outside of the stage.
Mm.
And just to watch him, like, bro, there's a story. I don't even know if you'd want me to say it really, but it was in Top Secret where it was the Gong Show when they used to do the Gong Show back in
Oh
the
yeah.
day. And I think he was on his last legs with it, man. He was like, bro, they're saying because I'm not going to say he was getting pressured from anywhere else, but it was like, am I really going to chase this comedy thing up? Is this
Right,
actually
right.
kind of thing? And watching him at Top Secret, he's a guy as well. Before he goes on, he'll kind of not anymore because he's that good, but back in the day, he wouldn't chat to anyone. He'd kind
No,
of be
sure.
by himself, wouldn't want to chat to anyone.
Mm.
And I remember him just being like, this might be my last gig, bro. Like I might be done with this kind of thing. And this was like a
Really?
gong show, Top Secret, late night, like where they'll boo you off, bro. You know
Oh
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. That's hardcore. Yeah.
And he goes on and absolutely smashes it. And I feel from seeing him at that point to just
Yeah.
where he is now, bro, it's just again two very good friends of mine that I've been blessed to have the friendships with, to watch them from the early days to get where they are. Massively inspiring, man. Massively, massively inspiring.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and I mean, it is. It can be rough, isn't it? I mean, and we'll have to have Diesel on the podcast, and he can, we'll get into that in more detail. But it is because it's unsociable hours. You can have bombs. You can just, I mean, you can just end up really questioning why this, why should I be doing this or what have you? And we
I mean,
do.
how many careers do you think that's ruined that kind of thinking? You know what I mean? How many possibly great careers that could have happened through, and then someone says, actually, I'm just going to do admin. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I mean, I think Gary Delaney, who I don't know if it's, the one-liner comedian, the famous TV,
I think I do know actually. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's sort of like Tim Vine and Milton Jones and Gary Delaney are the three, UK sort of top one-liner people. And he was on Stuart Goldsmith's comedian podcast, which oh, we're not worthy. I mean, that's partly his
Soon,
inspiration
soon coming, soon coming.
the inspiration for this podcast. But he was saying that, and he's been doing comedy 20 years or whatever. He was saying over the years, there's been loads of people that were much funnier than him, right?
Mm.
But they all quit. And the difference was that he stuck at it and he just worked, he just carried on. He worked as hard as he could. And I think we do lose a lot of people to that mentality. But in some ways, that's the Do you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
you,
It's the filter process to see who's the hard workers to get to where they need to be in the end.
yeah, and the sort of commitment level. It's sort of like, and how much do you? It's, I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't. It's almost like none of it all matters. It's all games of form. It's all like exploring these things. Yeah, it'd be nice if they would. I don't know. I'm there imagining like a different world in which, as in fact, actually, Jimmy Carr advocates that the stand-up comedy was taught in school. I think it would be really interesting if that was actually on the curriculum. Do you know, at school, like, to be doing that, that we could have like a nation of. I would make up for the fact that we don't have a manufacturing industry anymore, anyway. But
Yeah, not a non-services country. Yeah, we can do yeah, stand up.
Oh dear. But yeah, Jimmy Carr's also a really interesting story because he was like an executive at Shell and completely, like went moved into a different career. He's another. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
know he had. Yeah, that was he. Because I know he had an important job up until late in life. Was it as an executive at Shell? Yeah.
Yeah, he was, I mean, he had a stable job. He had like there was a career path and all this, that, and the other. And I think but there's an example of him just getting hooked on the comedy. And yeah, but I mean, he's a bit of a Marmite figure, but yeah, he does have some fantastic jokes. Yeah, yeah, good stuff, good stuff. Well, time to move into our for the penultimate question, which is how do drugs affect your perception of reality? And as I often say at this point, I mean, everybody out there, do be careful what substances you're taking. Like there's dangerous stuff out there. But by drugs, it's obviously clickbait a little bit, but I mean all substances. So people have talked about all sorts of substances that they have challenges with. We had Sandon Park talking about fast food. We had who do we have? We had Chloe Campbell talking about different sort of antidepressants. There are all sorts of substances that can have an impact on your mind and how you feel and how you look at the world. We had Andy Zapp talking about heroin in the 1960s. I mean, that was quite a conversation. But yet, for you, with drugs in the broad sense of all of those things, whether legal, illegal, or just stuff that you find in the gutter. What am I talking about? I don't know. How do these things affect your perception of reality, Callum?
It's a funny one, man, because I used to be a partaker in drugs. I used to take a lot of drugs, and I was part of, I think, I dare say, like the majority of Brits that delude themselves in saying it's weed, for instance. It's a plant. It grows. It's God
Uh,
given. When I smoke it, I'm the funniest I've ever been. And there's a guy, I forget his name. I think it's Pat McAfee, the guy that created the security system for laptops. I think it's Pat McAfee. No,
oh
not
yeah.
Pat. I forget his name, but his last name
Hmm.
is McAfee. And he said something that I just completely related with, which he was like, he used to sell drugs. And he goes, the thing about cocaine and heroin and stuff like that is as a taker, you'll get to a point where you go, I need to change my life. The thing about weed is that will keep you on the sofa for 15 years thinking you're the
Mm,
funniest person ever. And it's just that, bro. I now believe my eyes have been open to see the spiritual aspect to drugs and to the delusion that people think it helps them. And that goes with alcohol as well, man. Even yesterday, I was at Yovan's birthday
oh yeah.
and I've stopped drinking. I've slipped up a couple of times, but I've had I bro. If I had a joint and 3 beers, I'm the funniest guy you're ever gonna meet, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's like my personality goes way up here. But back in the day, I would delude myself to be like, I have to be like that to be around people, to be funny. And I think the
Uh,
real struggle is actually getting to know yourself again in a sober mind. And
mhm.
that plays into humor and comedy as well, because it's like, well, what you find funny in certain states under the influence may be different to how you are sober. Some stuff may convict you when you're sober, and you're like, actually, that's really not that funny,
Mhm.
as if you would have been drunk or something like that. So how does it change your perception? I think it changes your perception massively. It makes, bro, when you're under the influence of stuff, forget about comedy. It makes you do stuff that you otherwise wouldn't do if you were sober. So imagine how that plays into the humor field as well. So I'm a bit of an anti-drugs guy now.
Mhm.
Well, it wasn't always, but I think that gives me more of a perception and a fair, balanced view on it, to be honest.
Interesting, interesting. And you were saying there, so like, 3 beers and some weed, that would do something to your personality that would, put you up to a different level of humor. Now, is that like you also mentioned a kind of like, is there sort of a delusion? Like how much of that is you are actually being funnier, or is how much that now you think you're being funnier. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's I mean, it's a funny because if we just focus on the weed, for example, there's like that's a sort of a classic of like everybody smoking and then everybody's laughing, "Ah, la, la," and then like the next day and you're sober and you're kind of like, what were we laughing about? That there's a kind of yeah, but I guess part of what you were saying there seemed to suggest that there was actually like some reliable increase in on your ability to make other people laugh in a social setting when you'd had some of those substances. Is that what you were saying?
It is, but it's at the deterioration of yourself. So
Mm.
I'm making people laugh and I'm being funny under the influence. But really, if there's anything you have to continuously take to get yourself to a point in which you're happy to be,
Mm.
and that could be with antidepressants or anything.
Right.
At some point, there's a reason they don't let you take antidepressants forever. Like there has to be a point where you have to wean yourself off and take yourself off it.
Mm.
So there has
Mm.
to be a point in which you're comfortable in your own skin, sober minded. And if that means being, and I know this is comedy podcast, and we're talking about how it makes you more funny and stuff like that. But honestly, when it comes to drugs and that, I'm kind of serious on it, bro, because I wasted Sam. So I've been smoking weed since I was 13. Yeah.
Mm.
And
Mm.
I stopped smoking it last year.
Right.
That wasted the more than half of my life I've been smoking weed. And
Mm.
that
Mm.
wasted so much of my time. The reason I'm not killing it at comedy, I mean, apart, from my own from my own willful choices in deciding to do that, of course, you have to blame yourself at some point.
Mm.
But it's because the weed was, and I've said this to friends of mine that were smoking weed when I stopped smoking. I was like, bro, if you understood how much this has held me, bro, I would smoke weed and be like, bro, what am I doing? Just because I knew I'm not going to do anything the next day. I just knew, but it was such a reliable thing that was always there. It's
Yeah.
like an aid, it's like a handicap. It's like it's there for you. And
Right.
it's very, very spiritual. And I think people don't actually understand that, to be fair.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, you're saying there it's kind of like a crutch, and I guess I mean the you were sort of implying there's a question about how substances can make you funnier, which I mean is kind of like uh some people might argue. I mean, I guess the what I'm really interested in here is like how people get through their life and comedy, and like what substances do have or don't have to be involved with those things. So there's I'm certainly not saying oh yeah, these substances will make one funnier, but it's interesting, and I want to dig into what you're saying there about the spiritual side. But I think a lot of things is that we are, most of us, not comfortable with our kind of base being, right? Like George, talking about being
Absolutely.
comfortable in your own skin, and we have a tend that we live. I mean, in a world in which there are all sorts of substances, both digital and physical, that are kind of available for us to sort of take us out of the moment, to sort of like allow us to kind of cover up that discomfort or whatever we have in the thing. And
100%. And I think it
yeah,
goes deeper than that as well. I think it's for a lot of those vices that are put out, whether it's technology or whatever, it's I think to put out to a large base of people to maybe dumb them down, to maybe not make a rebellious younger generation and stuff like that. There's a lot of questions to be asked, but I definitely don't think it's just by mishap, it's just by accident that these kind of things have happened.
No, yeah, well, I mean, I think it's a weird thing. I tend to lean on the side that I often think that the powers that be are not organized enough to do those things. But certainly, right, it sort of makes sense that, for example, if companies are creating, addictive digital devices, or to a certain extent, addictive substances, and then people have them and the populace is calmer, you're not necessarily going to have the powers that be saying, well, we've got to release these people from their chemical or digital stupor.
Mm.
That sort of helps maintain the status quo. I mean, and then depending on where you are in the hierarchy, you might feel good or bad about that. But yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, it's weird because for me, like weed back in the day, like it was almost like a little rebellious thing, and then but ultimately, I just found it like made me completely paranoid, and it got to the point where just I don't want to feel like that. It induced more negative feelings than it did
Yeah.
of positive feelings, and so I mean, I quit that maybe earlier than some, but yeah. I think I replaced that then, for many years it was alcohol and caffeine. I actually just had a sort of a 3-year break of all substances of any kind, just to kind of like get myself, like clearer, because I think you can do more, like you say, with a clear mind. I mean, still, then actually getting comfortable with the base reality. I'm still not sure that I've managed to do that. But you mentioned spirituality there. What was how are you using that term in that like that?
Well, I'm Christian,
Oh,
so
okay.
so I see it from the Christian lens, which is when you take drugs, you're entering the spirit realm
Uh,
illegally,
okay.
and you leave your vessel and your spirit at the mercy of as a Christian, you either believe there's a God and a devil, and if you're leaving your vessel vulnerable to attack, which is what that is, if you're entering the spirit realm illegally,
Mm.
you leave it vulnerable to the attack of demons, and that's essentially what it is. So, for instance, for me, mine was complacency, laziness. These are all the things that the enemy, I believe, put on me to
Oh,
keep
wow.
me down and to keep me from progressing anywhere. Some
Right.
and some people are others. Some people have a different side to it as well. So when some people are very lustful. Some people like
Mm.
I need to go and meet a woman. I need to go. Some people are very maybe not on weed, but with other like I'm a really good drunk, for instance. Yeah,
Okay.
I used to be a very good drunk. I'll tell you something, Sam. When I started finding God, for 20 years, I've been able to drink. No problem. My dad's from up north. I could handle a drink, no problem.
Ah.
As soon as I found God, I would have 5 or 6 beers and black out. And I would wake up and people would be like, bro, what happened to you? Never in my life had that ever happened to me. But as soon as I started getting closer to God and I started leaving myself vulnerable to spiritual attacks, I'd black out and then they'd be like, you were a totally different person, almost possessed.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
so it's that's the lens that I see it through. So
Oh, fascinating, fascinating. Well, I mean, it's just really interesting. I mean, I come from a background of kind of science, but I increasingly are becoming sort of spiritual in a weird sort of way. And I don't know if you've heard of like Eckhart Tolle, but he kind of mixes bits of like, Buddhism and Hinduism and Christianity.
mm.
I can imagine that maybe in our last question we're going to uncover some interesting stuff. But since we're on that topic, that's what the fifth question is all about. What does it all mean? This life, this universe, this everything. I mean, clever people say 42, but that you mentioned you're Christian. You mentioned the spirit realm. Tell me everything.
Well, I'd say firstly, I want to say this because I heard this one time sounded so smart, and it's true. Yeah, I believe it's true. When people go, just let the universe answer. Let the universe. What is universe? Uni one verse sentence. One sentence. What's the first sentence of the Bible? God created the heavens and the earths. So that's what I would say what the universe is. So it's
Mm.
it's the creation of what God has made. Let me just start off by saying this as well. I haven't come from it, and I know, look, comedy podcast. When it comes to God, I don't joke. Yeah, God shall not be mocked. Yeah, but I wasn't brought up Christian. Family's not Christian. Nothing like that.
Oh, yeah.
Again, Sam, it was 15 years of smoking weed, of drinking, of this, that, and the third, bro, and just not progressing anywhere, not feeling anything, getting into very toxic relationships that was just spiraling out of control actually to
Uh-huh.
where to the point where I was actually taking and there is an aspect you don't want to be too open and give too much away, but just in case someone's watching this who's going through the same thing, I'm taking acid, I'm taking ketamine, and I'm starting to go into realms, bro. I'm starting to get these visions where I'm like, whoa. I'm like, this is crazy. I was like, there's more to life. Like, because
Mm.
before that, bro, I was kind of like agnostic atheist.
Okay.
You couldn't really talk to me about the Bible or anything like that. I wasn't very
Yeah.
interested. And then I started having these experiences, and I'm like, wow, there's something more to this. And we're talking 2.5, 3 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And when that happened, I remember, like, and I guess it's a bit of a testimony. I'll try and keep it short and sweet, but it was like, I remember seeing a prophecy that came up on my phone. It was talking about the Euphrates River drying up, which is what within the Bible and within
Oh,
Scripture
yeah.
it's about when the final days come. And I remember
Mm.
going to myself, and I said it out loud. And again, no interest in God really. And I was like, man, I need to look high as a kite, by the way, smoke
Mm.
behind weed. And I was like, I need to look into that. I was like, you know what? I've never actually looked at prophecy, but just talking to myself, Sam, like no thought behind it, no nothing like that. And when I say I believe the Lord took that as a verbal contract, as like, okay, you're interested, I'm going to show you everything. And so when that happened, when I started saying people of God started coming into my life, started talking about scripture to me. And in the beginning, I'm very hands off, bro. I'm like, not very in. And by the way, let me just say this: if Islam or anything else was true, I was so open in the sense where it could have, I would have asked anyone, like, well, who is God?
Okay.
Show me yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And then people are talking to me about scripture, this, that, and the other. And then a couple of things happened, bro, where it was the Holy Spirit came upon me at one point when I was
Oh
in
yeah.
Bath, and it just completely, as the scripture says, ripped the veil from my eyes, and I just completely saw the world for what it was. And from there, haven't smoked weed, but slipped up at Christmas, but you know how it goes. We're not perfect.
Okay.
Drank a couple of times, but it has been a 180, and my family will tell you the same. It's been a 180. Not to say, bro, I was a crackhead out on the streets punching up like
Yeah.
women and children. You know what I'm saying? But it was
Uh-huh.
like
Uh-huh.
the life I was living was not fulfilling. There was nothing to it. But when I decided to read scripture, when I decided to look into testimony, bro, even near death experiences, bro. When you look at like near death experiences online, you'll be
Uh-huh.
very surprised with the common thing everyone's talking about that
Right,
they
right,
see
right.
when they die. And then ended up coming to Christ, which I do believe is the answer to absolutely everything in our lives. Every
Mm.
problem, every issue, every relationship, there is nothing that God can't sort out. And yeah,
Mm.
that's where I stand. And hopefully, and no, I definitely will be up until my dying day. May God see that as a reason, not by itself, but as well as other reasons that He may grant me entry into heaven.
All right. Rock and roll. Yeah, fascinating, fascinating. And so, yeah, I mean, it sounds like you had a transformation. And if I may, you were so you were saying like you kind of started letting scripture into your life, and
Absolutely.
you mentioned seeing like something I think maybe scrolling on Instagram, what have you, like and you had questions in your mind, and then so was this has this been all you and sort of like receiving stuff digitally online, or have you met like a group of people? Have you got like a church or an organization that you're meeting people face to face, or was this more just it's you and you're absorbing material from the digital realm?
Now, as of right now, but to His glory, I'm surrounded by Christian brothers and sisters at a church in which we are constantly reading the Word and very, very much help each other out. And
Oh
but in
yeah.
the beginning, the Lord worked on me in isolation. So
Okay.
bro, I was such I wouldn't say a dark guy, but I was so lustful. I was so kind of self-indulgent. I was so
Mm,
all of these bad habits, bro, that honestly had been it was seeped into me through decades
sure.
of bad behavior. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
It had to take a revelation or something like that for me to change my ways, kind of. And don't get me wrong. Again, if you would have met me back then, as you did back then, I
Yeah.
was I was chill. I was a chill
Yeah.
guy, you know. But when the doors are shut in everyone's life, you never know what's going on. And again, not
Mm,
to say it was too mad, but I was just so away from spirituality. I was just so away from any type of purpose or trying to do anything that in the beginning, the Lord had to have me, because I felt like if someone was going to preach to me the Bible in my ear, bro, get away from me. I'm not trying to
right.
hear
Right.
it. Like, so
Yeah.
he had to be with me by myself, where he showed me a couple of miracles that made me be like, wow, okay, this is real. This is real.
Yeah. Well, and is the is well, I mean, I hope you don't mind me continuing to ask questions because I'm fascinated.
No.
So the group that you're with now, has it got a particular denomination? Is it like, I mean, I know there's many different types of flavors of Christian thing. Has it got a particular name? Is it like
The church is a Pentecostal church, but
Pentecostal? Yeah.
but we make a point, and again, I thank God for this, because it's easy to be like led into the Catholic path, which is what a lot of people are, or stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I am, as what the Bible says, I am just a Christian, so I am a follower of Christ Himself. If it isn't in the forget the traditions of man, which is what
Yeah.
a lot of churches are. If it's not in the Bible, we're
Mm.
not following it. As the gospel says, if they preach to you a gospel that is not of this, there is no light in them. I think
Right.
that's
Right.
like
Right.
8:20 or something like that. But yeah,
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. So to Pentecostal. And so you were saying then, so initially it was in isolation and you were sort of like you said, you were seeing stuff online about Euphrates River drying up and sort of different bits of scripture were coming up and you were sort of reading and you were interested and you're kind of like, oh, and then you mentioned like, I mean, miracles, the Holy Spirit came to you in the bath and
yes,
like, I mean, I would love to hear more, mate. I mean, I'm genuinely fascinated. Yeah.
no, listen, absolutely, and I'd happily tell it, bro. It's because you know what it is. I've told like a few people. I don't want to bore people in it, but for me,
Sure.
it's a life changing thing, bro. So it's like I hope it touches someone who
Yeah.
listens. But there was two events that happened which really done it for me. And again, Sam, if you could be Christian and smoke weed, I would have found that way. If
Okay.
you could be Christian and do any kind of, I would have found it, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
If I would have done, and I was actively, not actively, but I was trying to find a way not to be, because think of a Christian, think of a Bible believing Christian, bro. That's a disciplined life. If you're
Hmm.
actually trying to, no, not lustfully looking at women, loving your
Following the
enemies,
commandments. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, praying for your enemies, that kind of thing. That's a real disciplined life. And so I was the furthest thing away from that. And so look, fast forward very quickly, what happened? I was at work in this very toxic relationship, and I was watching something on YouTube called Hellier. Now it's actually a pretty interesting YouTube series. It's like two series long, but it's basically talking about the 33rd parallel, the Appalachian Mountains in America, and what lives there. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
blowing me away. Yeah, and at this time I've got this guy at work who the Lord has put there who's talking to me about the Bible, and I'm kind of not listening to him, kind of doing my own thing, but
Okay.
I'm engrossed in this series. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
finally get up to like the last bit of the series, and it's talking about astral projection. If you've ever
Hmm.
heard
Oh
about
yeah.
astral
I'm
projection.
very familiar with all of these things. Yeah, but go on.
Okay, okay. So I was about to start doing that. So
Hmm.
I was about to start getting into astral projection, the syncing up of your heartbeat to binaural beats and all this kind of stuff.
Hmm.
I was just about because I was like, remember I told you I was doing acid trips and that, and I'm going, there's something else, I don't know what it is. When
Yeah.
I've watched this, I've gone, this is it. I'm going, yo, this is what I've been looking for, kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
I tell you, bro, it is. Talk about God's timing, and I'll try and make it quick because it is kind of long, but on the final day, I was going to watch this Hellier episode. The last day, this guy at work, Nova, who I still talk to today, fantastic man.
Yeah.
Gave me his testimony about how he came to Christ,
Hmm.
and again, not trying to hear him, bro. Like he's been yammering off my ear about what Jeremiah 12, whatever he's talking about, bro. I was like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
cool, cool. Final day, he gives me his testimony about how he was a Satanist in the 80s
Really? Wow.
during the what is it, Satanic Panic or something like that. He
Okay.
was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and he goes, bro, I was ready. He was like, I was ready to meet the devil. He was like, and he's telling me that, bro, he's like a 60-year-old Caribbean guy, bro. He's like,
Oh yeah.
they're not joking around. Like when he's talking to me, it's serious, bro. And like I am gobsmacked at his story, bro. I can't even. I believe it because I believe him. But I'm like, now I'm walking home from Chiswick. Imagine 2 hour walk home. That's how much it got in my head. And I'm going, what is it God? Is it astral projection? I'm like, what? And I go home and I watch this last episode of Hellier. Yeah,
Right.
I'm watching it, and I tell you, bro, I'm watching this. God strike me down if I'm lying, bro. I'm watching this last episode. Hi, by the way, I was smoking weed, and I've told this to people as well, and they go, yeah, but don't you think it's the weed that affected what, bro? I've been smoking weed for nearly 20
Mm.
years, bro.
Mm.
I know what weed is and what weed ain't. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
I'm
Mm.
sat there watching this, and I felt, and in my head, it's a real battle of what's real and what isn't. Yeah, I'm going, is what Nova said about? And as I'm sat there watching it, I feel this warm feeling come all over my body,
Oh yeah.
and the only way I can describe it, Sam, yeah, is it's like you level up as a person. You're
Okay.
thinking quicker, you're smarter, you're patient, you're love. Every bro, I had to leave the house. I had to leave the house and go, what kind of weed is this, bro? I was like, what's just happened to me? But I had no idea it was the Holy Spirit. And I'm walking around my neighborhood going, I feel incredible. I was like, I've never had a feeling like this. Go back home and I sit in the bath and I literally say to myself, Sam, I go, what is this? And as I say that, I see a vision in my head of me holding a Bible, yeah, with
Uh-huh.
about 1,000 people underneath me holding a Bible, and I hear something whisper in my ear, Jesus Christ. I hear Jesus Christ whispered in my ear, and
Uh-huh.
with that vision. And I tell you, it was in that moment, like, boom, I realized all the people that stand on street corners saying, believe in that moment, I realized they were the truth. And I tell you, bro, this is how deep in sin I was. Yeah. I remember thinking when that came in my head, I was like, nah. I was like, they're the truth. I was like, bro, that can't be. Because I, I just couldn't believe that was it. It was like a mind opening, just like in that moment, I realized it was real. And I thank the Lord for even blessing because of the life I was living, bro. I didn't deserve to know that. I really didn't deserve to get a blessing like that. You know what I'm saying? And very quickly, if I can, I'll
Please.
just a second testimony on top of that, because this is the one which really solidified it. And I told Diesel about it the day after. And bro, imagine he's listening, like, what? And then when I talk about Jesus Christ, he's like, nah, I don't know, bro. He's like, you know what I mean? Because he's like, I'm not trying to
Sure.
hear it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it was, I had, after that experience, I had gone about 3 months with no weed and no alcohol, which for me
Mm,
that's incredible. Yeah,
mm.
incredible. Praying every day, spiritually, bro, I'm on fire. Yeah, I'm like feeling great. Me and Diesel go to Elephant and Castle. He has a gig in Elephant and Castle, and I
Yeah.
watched the gig. Really wholesome day, actually. Sorry, if I could backtrack just a tiny bit.
Sure.
Whilst I was at work, I was talking to this guy, Kyron, who worked at reception. Christian guy as well. I'm talking about what happened. We have about a half an hour talk, and within that conversation, he said to me, "Oh, by the way, when I pray to be protected from dark principalities." And I just, for some reason, that stuck in my head. Half an hour convo, that's the only thing I remembered from it, yeah? And I thought, yeah, whatever. Go back home after work, and I never usually done this, but I prayed before I went out, and I done that prayer. I said, Lord, can you protect me from dark principalities? Boom, left. Me and Diesel go to Elephant and Castle. Diesel smashed it, of course. And then we go to Backstreet, where we all gig again. Really wholesome day. And in my mind, I was like, you know what, this has been such a good day. I've been so good recently. Let me have a joint and let me have 3 pints. Yeah. Like that. That was
Uh-huh.
my thing, bro. That was my thing.
Reward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. And now I'm buzzed. I'm buzzed. I'm feeling good. I go home. Yeah. Sam, bro, when I tell you it is, I go home and there's a YouTube channel called MMA Guru. Yeah,
Oh
and
yeah.
he gives he just gives commentary on MMA fights, whatever. He's just a single guy, like on a screen, whatever. Yeah, I'm buzzed, mate. So I'm like falling asleep watching this guy, thinking nothing of it. I'm just about to fall asleep. My left ear, yeah, is covered by my arm, and I'm like this laying down. Yeah,
Yeah.
I started to hear laughing. Yeah, like ha 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 ha, ha, like cackling. Yeah,
Okay.
and then it turns from one woman to like two or three women, and ha 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 ha, like cackling like that. Yeah, and then in my head, I go like this. I was like, I'm watching MMA Guru. There's no laugh track on this. And
Right.
as soon as I poked my head up like that, everything was silent, like dead silent. Like, and I was like, bro, that the hairs on my arm was standing up. I was like, okay, because I had an open Bible next to my bed, and I was like, I'm protected. Like, not realizing I'd left myself spiritually vulnerable. I'm like, I'm protected. That this is fine. Whatever. Boom. Go back to sleep. And Sam, remember what I just said to you? I
Yeah.
had 3 months good, bro. Like not
Yeah.
not calling any people to come round or anything good like that. Yeah. I'm laying down on the bed, and now I've fallen asleep. Now I'm on the cusp of falling asleep. When I say, like when I told you the Holy Spirit came upon me, the warmth that came over my body,
Mm.
from the bottom of my feet to the top of my head, a freezing cold chill came over me, bro. And this
Mm.
was summer. This was like mid-July. It was boiling, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm on top of the bed and I'm like for half asleep, but I'm like shaking cold. I'm like freezing cold. And in my mind, within the space of a minute, yeah, I'm like, I'm gonna get drugs. I'm gonna get women. I'm gonna every bad thing that I had not done for 3 months, I was like, I'm gonna do this now, immediately, yeah.
Mm.
So and Sam, as I get up to go grab my phone off the side of the thing, the MMA guru changes. The what's on the screen changes to because when a
Yeah.
YouTube video finishes, yeah,
Yeah.
and if you've previously watched a YouTube video up to a certain point, it will continue up
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
so as my right foot touches the floor, that video ends, and a continuation from an old video I had watched, which was about the Bible,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it said, "When you're in trouble, call on Jesus' name." Corinthians 1, blah blah blah.
Uh,
Romans 13:14, walk in the flesh, bro. And I am stood still. I'm like, yo, there is something going on here. But in my mind, bro, I'm so demony. I'm like, yeah, but I still want to go. I still want to get this. And I'm
yeah.
still
Yeah.
like in that kind of sense, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I messaged someone girl, and I put my phone down, like not trying to look at it, freaking out, by the way. I'm like slightly freaking out.
Mm.
And I stopped playing the video and I lay in my bed and I was like still kind of shaking. I was like, you know what? Let me just do what that video said, yeah. Let me just do what that video said. And I'm like, Corinthians 3, call on Jesus Christ. Like, Lord, help me. I'm feeling simple. As I'm doing that, Sam, again, God strike me down if I'm lying, bro. As I'm doing that, I feel this warm feeling, like I told you about the Holy
Yeah. Yeah.
Spirit,
Originally.
coming over my body, and I'm like convulsing. I'm like shaking, like whoa. And I feel this warm feeling come out the top of my head. And as soon as the warm feeling come out the top of my nose, I just heard bang. I heard a loud bang, ominous. I couldn't tell if it came from inside the house, outside the house. I had a spiritual understanding that whatever spirit was in me had gone. And then
Okay.
and then the next day I told Diesel about it, and he was with me up until 90% of it until I started saying the Jesus stuff. But that what I have just told you, bro, is real as the sun is shining, bro. That is what happened to me, and I thank the Lord every day that He even revealed Himself like that unto me.
Amazing. Well, and thank you so much for sharing, and that we've got it down, and other people can hear it. That's extraordinary. Yeah. Wow. 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 And so that warm feeling now, and you were saying like that leveled up, like that's sort of stayed with you now. So like since that the second one, like that's there on a kind of like a daily basis. You're feeling warmer, more in control, more all good things.
You can absolutely get to that. Obviously, me being who I am, bro, I've done drugs a couple of times after that, and it just went like that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And so you're
Occasionally there are stutters,
Yeah. But if you're
but
continuously praying, reading the word, you can absolutely get to that state. They call it being on fire for the Holy Spirit. So it's like you feel just you can't have your temper lost. Like you are lot. It's a great feeling, bro. It's a great feeling. Better
amazing.
than any drug you could ever take.
Amazing. And so and then like I mean, amazing story. And then part of you're saying now that you can kind of see the meaning, the big picture. You kind of see underneath, and then so like from that position, like what would you describe? Like what is this? Well, I often say this is like are we dreams in the mind of God? Is it a simulation? Like what does it all mean? Like all of this stuff going on. I mean, you're sort of I mean you're alluding to there's like the word, there's the Bible, there's the New Testament. I mean there's the translation. I mean different people interpret the Bible and what's in it in all sorts of different ways, but like independently of that, then so what's this? Is this some sort of like training ground where we're being tested to see whether we go to the devil or God? Or what's your take now on what this experience of life we're having actually is?
Well, where we at right now as we speak is it's a very strange time because if we look at our forefathers and ancestors 200 years ago, it's like everyone believed in God up until ever. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
After like what is it like the sexual revolution of the 60s and 70s, the abortion pill and stuff like that. It's like everything became very liberal. Kind of I felt separating away from God. That's
mm,
personally how I feel. And we're finally at a stage now where there's actually because if you look at the statistics of church attendance from 2010 to 2024, I think it is,
mm,
it's gone up like 18 to 20%. So we're
mm,
seeing actually a real resurgence of, and so point being to your original question, we are sons of Adam, but children of God, who have everything to our, especially in the time we're in now, we have everything at our disposal if we really choose to find out the truth.
mm,
The three Abrahamic religions, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, all believe in the first five books of Moses. So they all have
mm.
an original seed. They all believe.
Right, right.
So if you go from there open-mindedly and choose to read the scripture and which one speaks to you, you will, I truly believe, come out to a point in which you are blessed by the Father to know the truth. So we have it at our disposal to choose to know if there's a creator and if we are the creation and what life is all about. I'll tell you, man, there's nothing more fulfilling I felt than realizing what life was about. Because before that, bro, it's like, what's the meaning? Why is everything the way it is? But when you have an understanding of it's a beautiful creation. Which again, if you're into science, bro, there's a guy called Chuck Missler who's a fantastic guy when it comes to talking about the universe and the relation with the Bible. If you ever get a chance to listen to him,
Hmm.
he's fantastic, and he talks about how there's order in everything we do, and if everything was just a chaotic mess so it would never be as perfectly lined up as it is now through
Mm.
anything, even from the retina in the eye to the blades of the grass, like just and everything is a creation of God. That point being, who are we now? We are here to really find out if we wish to know the Lord. And if we choose to wish to know the Lord, He will bless us abundantly. But we are surrounded in a fallen world, as was the days of Noah, meaning the enemy, and there is an enemy, he is the prince of the air. He is the prince of this world. He is in control of a lot of things that we enjoy a lot of the vices that we choose to participate in.
Mm,
And sometimes those vices and those addictions are too strong for us to want to grab ourselves away and try and find something else, which is what it almost was the case for me, which was almost the case for me.
mm,
So when and if you also look at things like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings and stuff, a lot of them are based on scripture.
mm-hmm,
It's like the darkness versus the light, and
mm,
that is what it is in a spiritual sense around us at all times. There's a spiritual war around us at all times.
mm.
One of them is trying to win our soul. Should we reach out, knock on the door, and the door will be answered, and we will be blessed in that sense. And the other one is trying to take us to hell for eternity, bro. And I ain't
Mm.
trying to take that door.
Right, right, right. So it's basically it's the light versus the darkness, and that's
Absolutely,
what it's all about.
absolutely.
Interesting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fascinating. Well, folks, you heard it here first. That's why people tune in to this podcast to hear, the word of the Lord. Amazing, amazing. Yeah, just out of interest, have you read or followed anything from Eckhart Tolle at all? Have you even heard of the guy?
Give me that name again, because I'm going to write that down. Because I am quite a guy that likes looking at stuff like that. I have not said I've heard of him actually. What's
Yeah,
his
no.
name?
So it's Eckhart Tolle. He wrote. He's most famous for a book called The Power of Now, and he blends stuff from a lot of different spiritual traditions. And yeah, I mean, I think he's all about being in the moment. But yeah, I mean, I can send you some stuff.
Please do, bro,
Later on.
because I find that stuff
Yeah,
fascinating.
I would be interested in your perception on those. I've talked about him on the podcast before, so there's no need to bore the listeners with that now. But well, I mean, that was a cracking. What does it all mean? Question being answered by Calum McIvor. I think our one listener, Violet, whose brain is being blown out of our ears, wants to know where can she see you, Callum? Obviously, like in a platonic sense, as a comedy audience member, or online. Where should people go if they want to see more of your comedy and your righteous word of the Lord?
Oh, righteous word of the Lord, you can catch me outside of Stockwell Station or King's College or King's Cross every
Uh-huh.
now and then. But for the word, if you're ever down Piccadilly Circus coming lines, then yeah, you'll catch me there.
Lions
Catch me
Den.
there on a Tuesday. But no, as I say, I'm trying to branch out to do some more gigs. So and I'm terrible with content, so I need to get my content out a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And once that starts happening, people will be able to find me everywhere. But otherwise than that, it's Duke of Brixton,
Yeah,
Duke underscore of underscore Brixton underscore on Instagram.
yeah.
And yeah, watch this space.
Yeah, we'll get that in the show notes. Yeah, good stuff. Well, thanks everyone. And remember, you can help support comedians on technology, people, drugs, by leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts. May I suggest 5 stars, 6 stars? I'm sure you can go up to 8. But or by following us on Spotify, where you can ask questions and add comments. And it's been great seeing the comments there recently. Do follow us on Spotify. That helps the algorithms, gets more people to be able to hear this. And we really look forward to being in your ears again soon. Last word to our fantastic guest, Calum McIvor.
I'd probably have to go with a classic John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave us his only begotten Son, that whoever so should believe in him should not perish but have everlasting life.